Thank you so much for joining us on Let the Healing Begin podcast. I'm your host, Asia. And today we have Nico Lagan.
There you go. Second time better than the first. Pow!
How you doing, Nico?
I'm good. Yourself?
I'm good, thank you. So whereabouts are you from?
Originally Montreal, Canada.
Okay.
Now my girlfriend and I have been traveling the US for 14 months now. We've done 23 states. Right now we're in Alabama, but we've been everywhere from New York State all the way down to California, all the
Uh-huh.
way east to, and when I say California, I mean California, like all the way down where it touches Mexico.
Okay.
And we've been all over the place. Like really, we've done four corners, and I was in Seattle at the beginning of the year for a men's conference. So yeah.
Okay. So I would have to ask, what is your favorite place that you've been to so far?
Arizona.
Really?
Love Arizona. Oh, I love Arizona. Arizona's great. We are just talking about it yesterday because I was looking at the weather in Arizona right now. I think it's like 80 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think Celsius. So it was 21 or 22 Celsius, but it was like 80 degrees. Like we were there from, I want to say February to April this year. And I
Wow.
was riding my motorcycle every day.
Oh, that
Like
must be nice.
in 3 months, it rained 10 minutes. One day, 10 minutes. People don't know this, but Yuma, Arizona is the sunniest place in the world.
I'm sorry, you said which place?
Yuma, Arizona, which is literally at the connection of, it's right connected California, Arizona, and Mexico. Sunniest place in the world. They get like 92 or 93% sun every year. It's crazy. Absolutely nuts. Like, don't know that I want to be there in the summer though. But winter wise, like going there, I could see myself going there like November, like end of August, November, staying there until March. Oh
Yeah.
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 Nashville's great too though. We love Tennessee.
Yeah.
Tennessee's awesome.
Do you have a favorite spot in Tennessee?
Um no, I just like the state. I like the people. But I got to tell you, we've been in Athens, Alabama, which is basically right at the border of Alabama and Tennessee. We've been here for 2.5 months, give or take. Love it. We did not think we would like it, but it's, the only states that are left for us to see is Mississippi, Louisiana, like Louisiana, Mississippi, um, what am I, Georgia, and Florida and South Carolina. So we were thinking we were in Virginia before here, so we were thinking about going to Tennessee, and then we could drive everywhere, but Tennessee's stupid expensive.
Yeah.
So we came down to Alabama, which we only came because when I was calling places to book the next RV spot, the guy that answered was incredible, like super nice, super cool dude. I'm like, yeah, we could see ourselves being there. But now we're in driving distance, like we're an hour and a half from Nashville. It's a
Okay.
few hours to go to Atlanta. It's a few hours to go to, oh man, what is the name? Memphis. So it's all like right there. We can leave the RV here, take the truck, and just go.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
So how often do you guys move?
It depends. It really, really depends. We stayed, like we did New York State. We drove from Canada all the way to Virginia. We did a few stops in between, but then we stayed in Virginia for a couple of months because my mentor's from there. He's in Virginia. Then we drove through Arkansas. We stayed in Arkansas for a few days, but then we ended up in Tennessee, stayed there for a couple of months. Then from Tennessee, we drove down to Texas, stayed all over the place in Texas for a few months. And then we went to Arizona, stayed there for a few months. Went up to Colorado, stayed there for a few months.
Oh, that's
Went
nice.
went all the way back to Virginia, stayed there for about 2 months, and then we came back down to Alabama. But like it's a bit ridiculous when you look at a map. Like
Hmm.
I was at the Harley dealership the other day, and I'm talking to the manager. We're in his office, and he has a map of the U.S. on the wall, And I start looking at all the places that we've been. It's ridiculous because I think I've driven between 15 to 20,000 miles last year, like over the past 14 months. And I did it all while hauling a travel trailer, like 11,000-pound monster behind me. So yeah, it was a motorcycle in the bed of the truck and the monster being pulled by the truck. Oh yeah, it's something most people should try. It's interesting. Very interesting.
I bet it's so fulfilling though, because you're not tied to one place, and like a life in a specific place, and you get to see different parts of the world, and experience different people.
The best part of all of this is the fact that it was not planned. We did not have any plans at all when we ended up in Virginia. We knew we wanted to go there because my mentor is from there, and I have it, and it had been a couple of years since I saw him in person. We speak all the time, but not in person. So we knew we were going there, but after that, we really did not have any plans. It was really, we went from there, and often the places that we've been to were by invitation.
Wow.
Like somebody found me online, we got invited. That's why we went to Colorado. Somebody found me online. We were in Arizona, and if you look at the map, it's half the country, right? It's not close.
Right.
So the guy invited us there, and we ended up going, but we had no idea. That we had no other reason than because he invited us. We went to Yuma because it's connected to Mexico and the city on the other side that I cannot pronounce to save my life, but it's very calm. Like, it's touristy. It's basically dentists.
Wow.
There's probably 100 dentists in a small town and like 5,000 people. So all the people from the US, because your insurances are so expensive, they cross there, and it's great. We went there. I got my teeth clean and whitened. I took advantage of it, but
wow.
we went there. We came back in. We were just supposed to cross over to reset our visitor visa, and we ended up staying give or take 3 months there.
Wow.
And we spoke yesterday to kind of see if we were a match for a podcast. And after we spoke about Christ, we spoke about God, and I told you how connected I am to him. And I'm very happy that my girlfriend understands my craziness and even embraces it, because I was walking, like, my dog's right there, she's sleeping, but I have a German Shepherd, and I was walking her on the side of the water. We're right next to the Colorado River, and I'm just walking her. We sit down. I'm smoking a cigar with her. We're just chilling. Like, I'm just sitting there in the sand. She's looking at the water. I'm smoking a cigar. Something tells me to lean back. I lean back, and there's a hummingbird. I have a very big hummingbird. To me, if I see a hummingbird, it's always a good sign. Like, I see a hummingbird, it's like, thank God something cool's gonna happen. And yeah, so I went on my back. I looked up. I saw a hummingbird, and I swear to you, it spoke to me. And it just told me, you're supposed to stay here. So I literally left the RV, and the deal between my girlfriend and I is that we were staying there a week, and then we were leaving. I came back. I'm like, hey, do you mind booking here for another 2 months? I was just told by a bird that we're supposed to stay here. And it's not even a joke. Like, this is what I told my girlfriend, and she's like, yeah, okay, we'll stay here longer. So
that's good that she's supportive.
Yeah, but I think she understands I'm crazy too, right?
Yeah.
But this is something that most women have a hard time understanding today. But in a couple, men are supposed to lead. I'm a leader. I'm a born leader. That's what I do. I don't wait for other people to tell me what I should be doing. I'm gonna do it.
I know that's
right. And it is like that. Like, God calls us to be leaders, calls us to be protectors, calls us to be providers.
Yeah.
And it's not easy to be a leader, because you're supposed to know what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to have an idea. If you don't lead, I guarantee you, your woman's going to get sick of you. And this is the thing, right? I did choose a woman that understood that she values the same thing as I do. So it wouldn't be very good if we were relying on, and no disrespect to her because she can hear me speak right now, but we wouldn't go very far if I had to rely on her to lead. So I'm very, very grateful that she does understand that I will come up with some weird things. Like, another example, last year we're in Austin, Texas. We're the day before Christmas. I think we're the 24th. We're at the gym, and there's this guy. We see the guy there because I'm at the gym 5-6 times a week, and he's not from there. I don't know why I knew that, but I knew he wasn't from there. So as I'm leaving, we just start talking. I'm like, "Hey, bro, what are you doing tonight?" And we don't have any family here. We're super far from our family. So it's really her and I all the time, her, I, and the dog, right? So
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you doing tonight? He's like, yeah, nothing. I just moved here from down east and I don't have any family members here and blah, blah. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm like, bro, you should come over. And we live in an RV. We don't have that much space, but man, if you want to come over, come have food with us. We'll have a drink, bring your dog, whatever. Let's just make something out of it. Turns out the guy was homeless, lived in his car. He stayed with us for 2 or 3 weeks
Wow, that's
in the RV. So, but what's funny is that as I started talking to him, my girlfriend gave me the eyes that she gives me all the time, and she's just like, "Oh man, not again." Like she knows, right? She's just like, but this is how I choose to live my life. Yesterday we were saying that God speaks to you through your heart. So if you open your heart and you just listen to the low voice inside of you, you don't doubt it.
Yeah.
You just listen to it, because sometimes it's going to tell you stuff that's not nice. Sometimes it's going to tell you stuff that's extremely nice. Sometimes it's going to ask a lot from you. But I can tell you, the only time that I was wrong is when I did not listen to that voice.
Absolutely.
It has never
failed me.
Never, not once.
Yeah.
Has it put me in extremely difficult situation? Absolutely. I'm in one right now.
Yeah.
But I can always, even though I'm in a really bad spot right now, I can laugh at it because I'm like, this is temporary. I know that I'm here for a reason. I know I'm doing God's work. He told me to do this. Why would he fail me?
Yeah.
And it's so freeing to have faith and to understand that if you do remove the distraction, if you learn to listen to yourself, to that voice inside of you, remove your doubts, remove your fears, because that voice is very loud. But the day you figure out how to remove that and you just hear that pure voice that just tells you what it is, might not like it, but the voice is always there. And every beautiful thing I owe in my life comes from that. There's no doubt about it. It comes from me having faith and following. I used to call it my instincts, but it's not my instinct. It doesn't belong to me.
I know that's right.
It does not belong to me.
No,
It's
right.
just, I'm very well connected to God and I do God's work. As weird, I don't think I've ever said that before. As weird as that sounds, that's what I'm doing. And I was thinking this week about all the places that we've been, because when people don't realize, most Americans don't travel your own country, right? You stay in around the same place and you never leave. I've traveled a lot. I've done a lot of backpack in my life. And I could pinpoint every place we've been, why we were there, and how much they grew me as a person. If it wasn't that we went to see my mentor in Virginia, I don't think I would have started attending church, because prior to that, I had been to church like maybe 5 times in my life. I was very connected to God, but not in a Christian way, right?
Yeah.
He brought us to church, and I look at my girlfriend, I'm like, yeah, I don't really like this church, but I think we should find another one. So every place we've been, we've tried to find a church that we attend every Sunday, right? And then we end up in Texas, and I meet some extremely popular influencers, and they're like, bro, we need to record something together. Make me a list of the 5 most important things that young men should possess. I'm like, man, that's a good question. So I woke up in the middle of the night and I started writing, and I came up with the 5 virtues of a good man. That 90% of my content now is around this, because somebody challenged me. I'm writing my 2nd book right now on the 5 virtues of a good man, and that's because I was in Austin, Texas. We went to Yuma. The bird told us to stay there, and I started developing everything around the 5 virtues of a good man. I needed the time away. There's no distractions in Yuma. It's a super small
Yeah.
town. There's
Yeah.
nothing to do. It's so boring. But that, because I had no distractions, I was able to just concentrate on doing this.
Mhm.
I didn't take a lot of meetings back then. I was really just concentrating on developing that idea. Then I'm invited by a random dude online to go to Colorado, and I'm like, "Yep, we're gonna come."
Mhm.
I got baptized. I
Wow.
I gave myself to Christ. I got baptized. I was baptized as a baby, but now I was baptized as an adult when it matters. And since then, I started creating more and more content around faith, around faith, around faith.
Mhm.
So, and now after searching and searching and searching, oh, and Yuma, we found a church. I found the best priest I've ever met. He was in Yuma. We miss that place because the priest, old gangbanger, old drug dealer, he was a criminal just like I was. And I don't relate well to goody two shoes
Man, me
Christian.
either. Yeah.
No disrespect to them because they
Yeah.
cater to a different type of people. But I want a man. I want a man that's broken. I want a man that's done a lot of bad in his life.
Yeah.
That is not your, if you look at any of my social media, the first thing that it says is not your typical Christian.
Yeah.
I am not your typical Christian. And it's interesting because I was looking, I asked that pastor, do you want to start recording stuff with me? Because I want to start asking very difficult questions that, the men that are out there that have questions, they know there's something they're thinking about spirituality. They don't know where to go, but they're like, man, something's missing in my life. I want to be that bridge. I want to be able to tell, bro, I feel you. I know what it is. I've been there.
Yeah.
Here is some information.
Yeah.
Do with it whatever you want. But
Mhm.
if you have questions, you should look that way. I just want to be an enabler.
And then you know what is coming to me now? Like I know because like you said, you're not the typical Christian, but like one thing that God has been speaking to me recently is He's calling people outside of the box of normal, right?
You have to.
And like a lot of people are intimidated. Well, I wouldn't even say intimidated, but it can be a little offensive, just the thought of dealing with a Christian, So like
Yep. 100%.
with your appearance and my appearance, just by a first glance, like people won't even know that we're Christians just by if people are judging with our outer appearance. So that right there within itself is so dynamic and powerful because you can walk into places and spaces that a person that, would be judged as a Christian necessarily wouldn't be able to.
And this is what's interesting because my content is considered very controversial. Like just on Podmatch where we found each other,
Mhm.
I should be, with the amount of views that I get every month, with the amount of knowledge that I possess and the presence that I have in front of the camera, I should be invited day in, day out.
Yeah.
Yet most people do not have the balls to have me on their podcast because they look at the type of content that I put out there, and especially Christians.
Yeah.
I've had some guys tell me, I've had at least 3 guys just last week, tell me, you know what, you don't fit our program. I'm like, okay, bro, okay, hold on. And I don't care. I'm gonna push back. I'm like, okay, please explain that to me. I have about 100 times more the followers than you have, probably a million more views, a million more times more views than you get. I'm a Christian and I support men's right, and I'm extremely educated on the subject, and I'm writing my second book in the past year on that subject alone. I have 12 years of sales, so my presence, I can speak to a camera. So I'm like, please explain to me as a follower of Christ to another, how do I not fit your platform? And they won't answer me.
You know what it is a lot of people, and not to say anything bad about people, because as a follower of Christ, we know that it's a spiritual thing, right? It's being locked in with that spirit of religion, which is so controlling, and so you should do this, you should do that, and like as you get to walk with Christ, He's the complete opposite of that. Like he's He wants us to be free, and so it's very judgmental. Some people can be very judgmental,
Extremely judgmental. And so we're in Alabama now, and I've been looking all over the place that we've went. I've been asking pastors in the church that I go, I'm like, would you sit down with me and answer a bunch of questions?
Yeah.
Like I have I read a lot about theology, and I'm like, I have a lot of questions that regular people that are curious have questions.
Yeah.
So what I want to do, I want to create content around this so that we can answer questions
Mm,
without them asking. Just like, not preachy, not I don't want it to sound religious, but just to
yeah.
say, you know what, this is what it's about.
Right.
And all the people are saying no, they don't, like, they find excuses, right? They look at my stuff and they're like, yeah, they find excuses. But then I found a guy here, Pastor Chris, at where we go, and since I'm a bigger guy, I'm a loud guy, I take a lot of space. I'm a heavily tattooed. Like, I can't hide my tattoos. You see it. And I'm noticeable, right? People, and you either like me or you don't. There's no in between. There's no gray area. And
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I'm
Right.
unapologetic. I really don't care if your feelings are hurt by what I say. I don't go out of my way to piss people off. But if
Yeah.
your feelings are that easily hurt, that's your problem, not mine. And I'm not
Mhm.
going to apologize for it.
I know that's right.
So I'm at the church. I like the church, but we're in the South. Like, you're in the Bible Belt. People have been going to church their whole life here. So they see a guy like me walk in. I'm not really the typical guy that they expect to see. I swear. And at church, obviously, I don't, but you can tell that I don't fit there. And the main pastor, we've been having, I don't want to say a coldness, but you could tell that he did not know how to take me. And then there's one of the other pastor that gave that gave a sermon a few weeks back, and I loved it. He just spoke to the heart. He spoke from the heart. He said he was a sinner. He said he's still doing something wrong, because I can tell you, from having been to a lot of church over the past year, pastors are always thinking they're better than thou. They're really trying to make it look like they have no faults, they're perfect. And I'm like, you know what? No.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but something
No,
just
no worries.
literally dropped into my spirit. So, so like, first of all, when you were speaking about like being someone that they least expect, I could hear the Spirit of God say, "This is chess, not checkers." And then,
yes.
Secondly, what downloaded into me was, because so many people are like judgmental and stuff like that, God is raising up, an army of people that you wouldn't expect to see coming, people that don't look the part, or, so to speak. And those are going to be the ones to change, people's lives, change the nation, to bring in souls and to lead people to Christ. Because, like, one thing that God has shown me is we don't have to be Bible thumpers, He would rather us not to be that way, or be religious. Like, it doesn't take all that, it's just about being your true, authentic, original self.
But I have no interest in being a theologist.
Yeah.
But what I want to do is to be able to put it into context for people to make sense of it. Yeah. I was talking about this on another podcast a few days ago, and we're talking about Christ. And, I was explaining how Christ is the ultimate male. You look at him, he does not look very tough. He does not look like a masculine man. He looks a bit effeminate, but yet he does not take crap from anybody. He stood up to an army of Romans and said, and to the Jewish people, to just say, you know what, you are wrong. And not only are you wrong, I am right. Not only are you wrong, but if you don't follow me, you're double wrong.
Yeah.
So the guy was so manly just in the way that he was. Like, I look at him and I'm like, man, how can I be more like him? And it's just brilliant, because compassionate, kind, but yet doesn't take crap from people. And this to me is extremely masculine. So it's just absolutely amazing. But to go back to what I was saying about Chris, we sat down and we ran through about 27 questions. We sat down for an hour and a half, interview style. So I just smacked the camera on him and I'm asking him questions one after the other. And now I'm turning them into reels, right? And it's funny because yesterday I posted a video, and right now he's probably taking like about 5,000 views on that video. It's just a 20-second clip of our conversation, but it's all edited. Like, it's done on purpose, right? My team did a great job on it. And then I just sent him a picture. I'm like, hey, look at that. You got like 4,000 or 5,000 views on this video. And to me, it's like, it's normal. Like 4,000 or 5,000 views, it's like some of my least popular video. But to a guy that's preaching to a church that has a few hundred people, let's say on a good Sunday, he speaks to 400 people. Just today, without you doing anything, you spoke to 4,000 of them. And you always speak to the same people. That's part of your congregation, but now you're talking about people. So I've released about 4 or 5 videos of him, and we're probably at 10,000 views of those 3 videos. So I don't think it computes, right? Because they're not technology savvy.
Yeah.
So this is where I think it's interesting, because I was telling you, the main guy was a bit cold. Chris talked to me because he spoke to the heart. I went to see him after his sermon. I'm like, bro, it's about time. Because if you want to relay a good information, make it about you. Make it a story about you. How did that impact your life? Use scripture to define your life and say, you know what? This scripture always reminds me of Z, because I tend to do that. I'm a sinner and I always have to remember this. So if this can be something to keep me on the right path, I know it can be for you. Brilliant. So I just went to see him, and I'm like, bro, love the way you sold it, because pastors are not perfect, and God knows that I know too, right?
Yeah.
So he agreed to do some videos, and awesome. I started posting them. Now the main pastor, the guy that I felt a bit of coldness to, or like from him, because I don't know the guy, gave a great sermon. It's the first sermon since we're here that he actually spoke from the heart. That one in like 7 sermon is the first one that I'm like, man, that was good.
Yeah.
As a guy that did presentation for 12 years, I'm like, bro, I gotta go see him. I shook his hand. I'm meeting with him next week. We're gonna meet for lunch. And I think he has some ideas, because I really want to get involved, and somehow I want to see how I can bring more Christian content to my stuff, but I'd like to do it in a way that's proper.
Yeah.
I don't know how yet.
But gotta give you the steps. He's gonna unveil the steps.
You can't force it.
Yeah.
I used to, my old marketing company my PR firm that I did, that was helping me just like create some kind of my vision of what type of content I was going to put out there. I asked them for 6 to 8 months, hey man, how do we bring Christianity in this? How do we bring my faith in this? We could never figure it out. And now every day I just find it just talks. I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm going to talk about this. Oh, okay, I'm going to find this. I'm good. But my most popular video I did about faith was about a street pastor. All you see is he's with the mic, he's talking, I can't remember exactly what he's talking about, but then he turns around and there's a guy that smacks him right in the face, like, oh.
I saw that.
Smacks him right in the face. And then he turns around and he's like, God bless you, brother. God loves you. He basically does nothing, and he's like, hey man, that was a good slap, by the way. So I took like 10-second clip, and then at the end I'm like, you know what? I still have a lot as a Christian. I still have a lot to learn, because if that guy did that to me, I would have knocked them out.
I'm trying to tell you.
And
I ain't there yet.
But I think this is the honesty that Christianity needs, because we are so scared to call it how it is. We're so worried about pandering to people that are not even worth it. People that have no interest in it. Not everybody can be saved. This is something that, if the Bible is going to teach you something, is that if you don't believe in God, you will not be saved. And unlike popular belief, hell is not a place where there's a devil with a fork that's poking you and burning you. Hell is the absence of God. And if you understand that evil comes from men, and goodness comes from God,
Mhm.
hell must suck.
Yep.
Hell must, if you, okay, you know what? You don't believe in me? That's fine.
Yep.
But you don't get to be in my presence.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And you know what? It hits hard when I found out that hell was not even made for us. It was made for Satan and his demons, you know? So I can't imagine, I can't fathom being in that space for all of eternity. Like I'd rather give it my best shot while I'm here. And that includes making some mistakes, you know, and God knows that.
Of course it
Um,
does. Of course.
and you know what? One thing that God has been ringing in my mind and just in my spirit and bringing before my eyes over these last couple of months has been the two words authentic and authenticity,
Mhm.
right? And he's revealed to me that like in this hour and in this season, that's our spiritual currency. That's what's going to unlock the doors that we need, you know, to be accessing, you know, for our assignments, for our purpose, for, you know, just the journey and the road that he has carved out for us. um and even let me tell you how he topped this off, right? So he had me, because he started showing me this word, and I'm like, God, what are you trying to tell me with this? You know, when he starts bringing it to me like that, I'm like, God, this is you telling me something, right? He even blessed me with a job recently, where part of my title as the word authentic is in there. And then he keeps bringing these two words up before me, and so he has me go post content on, you know, when he gave me this revelation a few days ago. And then about 2 or 3 days later, I'm working and somebody sends me a message about like the Merriam or whatever dictionary, their word for 2023. And
Yep.
that's what it is.
It's about authenticity.
The word for 2023 is authentic.
See, this is what I don't believe in coincidences. I believe that people that think that coincidences are a thing, you're not paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
Open your eyes, brother. Step back, open your eyes, and you'll see that everything's connected.
Yeah.
That being said, it's, you know, just look at studies. Like, let's take a scientific approach to this, not even religion. The number one regret of the dying is not what they did, is what they did not do. What they regret the most is having lived a life that others expected of them and
Mm-hmm.
not the life they wanted to live.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest regret of people is not live a life that is authentic.
Mm.
This is the number one regret of the dying. I could die tomorrow with no regrets.
Yeah.
Because I have lived the life I wanted to live, or at least that God wanted me to live, because I could easily do nothing and sit on my bum if I wanted to. I don't think I could, but I would have I would have probably chosen an easier life, but
But
not my choice, right?
you know what I've noticed about the life that God chooses for us? Like you said a minute ago, like it's not easy by any means. Like I would never lie to anybody and say that this walk here is easy. What it is it's very worth it. And every day when I finish out my day, I'm going to bed with my heart full, you know. So if I would have chosen this life, no, I know personally I wouldn't have, you know. So I had to go through some things for God to reveal some things to me and show me some things about myself that I didn't even know that I carried, you know. And as he started revealing himself in the ways that he does it, it just blows your mind to where you're just hungry and thirsty for more, you know. And before you know it, you're locked in.
Pain and suffering are the greatest teachers.
Yep.
And a man is not born, he is made through trials and tribulations. And if you look at Christianity, and one of the things that I find amazing about Christianity is that it talks about this time and time and time again, how you will suffer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we distorted the meaning of the Bible by making it about punishment, to say if you don't do this, this is gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
But this is not, we're missing the whole point, because yes, the Bible talks about pain, but not as a punishment,
Yeah.
but as a way of learning. Pain, if you look at it from an experience perspective, is a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't for the fact that my father left when I was 14 years old, I would not be speaking about masculinity day in, day out. If I wouldn't be writing my second book on it. If my dad did not leave, I wouldn't have become an addict, a drug dealer, a thug, an alcoholic. I wouldn't have never become accountable in my 20s,
Yeah.
because in order to change, you need to be in a situation that you hit rock bottom. You need to hurt so much
Yep.
that doing the same thing over and over again, which is the definition of insanity, is no longer an option. You're
Yeah.
hurting too much in order not to change.
And you know what? Honestly, because I'm somebody like I've been on drugs, I've been on alcohol, all types of stuff. Like I've lived a wild life. But people don't change until they bottom out. And when I say bottom out, I mean hit completely rock bottom. You know, if they're sick and say they're sick and tired, but nothing is changing in their life and they're not making the intentional decision. And I know that may sound a little harsh, but it's a truth that needs to be said. You know, people don't change until they bottom out.
Why do you think the comfort zone is so dangerous?
Yeah.
Because the comfort zone will keep you're not hurting enough in order to change.
Yeah.
You're just comfortable enough that, why would I change? I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
But yet what's unfortunate is that, again, if you understand, you look at what the Bible tells you about pain, what it teaches you. We understand this as Christian, but again, remove the Bible from the equation. Life is hard. Life is really tough. Life is not about unicorn and fairies and rainbows. Life will kick you in the teeth,
Yeah.
and it will keep you there permanently. It will keep you on your knees bent over if you do not do something about it. But until you're hurting enough, you will not do anything about it.
Yeah.
So we're teaching our kids to be in safe spaces, to avoid pain instead of embracing it.
Yeah.
Pain has brought me to some of the worst places that I could be because I needed to hurt. I needed to go there and dig deep and realize, you know what, bro, you're not that good of a person. You really are flawed. You are broken. You have hurt a lot of people around you. And that needs to stop. You need to be better. I'm not saying you can be perfect, because I ain't Christ, but I can definitely try.
Yeah.
And again, without that acceptance of pain, if you don't account for that pain and say, you know what, I need it, I deserve it, and that pain will make me better, you'll never change. You will never change.
Yeah. I'm going to read the scripture real quick, the one that speaks to us about perseverance and pain and our sufferings. And it's coming from Romans 5:3-5. And it says, not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope. And hope does not put us to shame, because God's love has poured out into our hearts through the Holy Spirit, who he has given to us.
Amen.
And you know what? One thing that I've now that I've gone through so much, and when I became intentional with God, he led me into the wilderness and stripped me of everything that, of every element of the identity that I had established, and in that, looking back on that, I'm so grateful for the wilderness season. I'm so grateful for the being uncomfortable, because it produced so much fruit in me that I didn't even know was possible, and now that I know who God is and his character, and I have a relationship with him, I know he'll never, ever, ever hurt me. Everything he's ever done is always for my good. And I just have to, submit to that. It's hard to let go of that control, but it's so worth it, because when you do start seeing God move, you're like, whoa, you had way better plans than I ever thought on my best day,
But there's no such thing as control. That's the thing. It's an illusion.
Yeah.
There's only three things in life you control. You control your emotions, you control your actions, and you control your reactions. But that is it. There is nothing outside of those three things that you control.
Yeah.
All the rest does not belong to you.
Yep.
You cannot do, you know, you cannot change people backing you into a corner. You cannot change the cards you were given. The cards you were given when you were born, you didn't choose them, but you definitely chose how to play them. This is on you.
Yep.
How else do you have guys that come from the ghetto ends up making a boatload of money and helping a bunch load of people? But then you have other people that will stay in the same neighborhood, stay in the same place, and never change. Same circumstance, very different outcome. Because one decided to do something about it and accept the fact that you are in that situation. Because you can't be a victim. No, sorry, you can be a victim, but it's not a good idea.
Yeah.
Victimhood is not going to bring you anything.
It's not going to get you out of any type of space. One thing that God did to me when he let me out in that wilderness, he gave me a mirror, and me, it was up to me to take accountability for every one of my actions, no matter the circumstances or why, like, oh, I'm like, God, well, what about this, that, and the other? I mean, things happen. Life happens. My mom used to say, life, happens, but you can't stay in this victim space. You have to get up and dust yourself off. Life will pass you by as long as you're sitting around with that woe is me, throwing this pity party. Life happens to everybody, and it just is what it is.
Have you ever read The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho?
No, I need to read that. I'm about to write this down.
My favorite book on the planet. Probably, I've probably read 300, maybe more books in my life, and this is by far my favorite. I read it once a year. I just read it again a couple of months ago, and it's all about purpose. He integrates God in such a great way.
Really?
In that, he doesn't make it religious, but you can tell that he is.
Yeah.
You can you just read and you're like, amen, brother.
I know that's right.
he talked about, he wrote a book that's called The Pilgrimage, where he actually leaves for a few weeks by himself with a backpack and walks the path between France and Spain. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. This is one of the things I want to do in my life. I want to make that pilgrimage. But a very religious guy, doesn't talk. He's from South America, so he's religious.
Wow.
But the book is brilliant, absolutely brilliant, and they talk about what we call personal legends. That's why my digital agency is called Personal Legends Production, because of that book, because I want to help people produce their purpose, produce what they were meant to be. And people don't like the word destiny, but we do have a destiny. We all do.
Yeah.
And it will pass you by. It's not because you have a destiny that sitting your bum on the couch watching Netflix is going to bring you any closer to it.
Yeah.
You still have to do the work. There's nothing that's going to come and just fall on your lap.
And you know what? I always say, because it's going to come a day where we all have to stand before that great throne and account for the things that we did while we were on this earth. And I want to have some answers, okay? Especially now that I know that I have a purpose, and not to say I know the full on extent of my purpose, but I want to have guys, he never reveals everything at once, but I want to have some valid answers for God. I don't think I don't know, or I just was going through this or going through that, it's going to be valid on that day. And I just don't want to be there like a deer stuck in headlights. I don't want to play with my soul, because God is real and heaven and hell are real. And I just feel like I'm not made for hell. I can't do it.
There was in Egypt, there was some folklore or some history around it, however you want to call it. But they had this idea that in order for you to enter their heaven, you would have to take your heart, pull it on a scale, and on the other side of the scale, they would put, how do you call this? Why am I drawing a blank here? A feather. in order to enter heaven, your heart needed to be lighter than a feather. And this, I've read this years ago, probably 10,
Yeah.
20 years ago. It's always in my mind. I want to be able to stand in front of God to tell him that I've done more good than bad.
Yeah.
I'm still paying back that good because I've done a
That's
lot of
right.
bad.
Me too.
I've been paying for 20 years and I'll continue paying for the rest of my life.
But you know what? This is the thing, though. God doesn't hold a debt over our head, right? When Jesus died, he paid that debt for us, you know?
But that's on me.
Huh?
That's on me.
Yeah.
I still, as much as I understand that I don't owe anything, I just need to give myself to, it's not enough.
Yeah.
I still believe in karma. I still believe that if you put bad out there, you
It's
will
coming back.
create bad, and it will come back to you.
And it does, because people
course it
just
does.
run around, people just run around treating other folks any type of way, thinking that you can do this and say this and treat people any type of way. And you might not reap what you sowed that day or in the next 6 months or even in a year, but it's definitely coming back. And another thing that people should keep in mind too is when that comes back on you, it does not only affect you, but it also, can come back on people in your lives,
As we were, I was saying that men are supposed to lead. If you lead by, I'm going to ask the pastor next week why he kind of changed his mind or got warmer to me. But I guarantee you it has something to do with the way he saw me handle the videos I did with his other pastor. I got involved in his, they do Bible study on Wednesdays. We were there yesterday. My girlfriend and I are part of a group. We've done, we were there packaging some stuff for people that don't have a lot of food for the holidays. So if you lead, oh man, what's going on with my head tonight? Gandhi said that be the change you want to see in the world. And this is brilliant because this is lead by example. If you lead by, if there's one thing I've realized over the past year as my audience has gone from a few thousand to more than 100,000 followers, people are looking at you. They might not like your content, they might not comment on it, but they are looking. Because I get texts from people that are just people I know, people I don't. Sometimes they don't feel, because again, what I do is supposedly controversial. They don't comment, they don't like, because they don't want others to know that they interact with that type of content. But then people are looking. Don't think that because people are not commenting on what you're doing, that they're not looking. So if you just live through your heart, you follow God, you follow Christ, you just try to be better lead by example, you will affect people around you. And if that's not karma, I don't know what else could be referred as karma. If I do good will come out of it, because even if I never know, even if I have no idea, like my girlfriend and I signed up to give a gift to. So at the church, they organize, they align with foster care, they're aligned with different groups, so that around Christmas they can give a kid, well, multiple kids, but they can give kids gifts.
Okay.
Because they're either not in they're not with their parents, they're in protective custody, they're not in the best of situations. And my girlfriend, knowing me the way she does, she picked a boy that's 14 years old. I'm like, yeah, of course, that is perfect, right? So we could have went ahead and they gave a list, so we could have just went ahead and say we'll choose whatever's on that list. But I'm like, no, that list is not good. That list comes from a public worker that probably has 100 of those kids that she sent an Excel spreadsheet, and they chose through that Excel spreadsheet. So I asked my girlfriend, I'm like, can you reach out? Can you find who that person is? Can we talk to him? Can we talk to her? So that I can know exactly what type of guy that is, what type of boy that is, so that I can get him, so that we can get him something that's going to be really meaningful to him. Absolutely. And I'll never meet that boy. I hope I do, but I might never meet him. But just the fact that I go the extra mile and find, man, when I was 14 years old, I was not thinking about jogging pants.
Yeah.
That's not what I was thinking about.
Yeah.
I want to know what his stupid, crazy dream is. What would he like to do that would blow his mind?
Yeah.
What? I don't even care what it is. Doesn't matter to me, as long as it makes him happy.
Yeah.
It's such a small thing to do. Such a small thing to do, yet that I'm hopeful that I can do his Christmas. That for a minute or two or 10 minutes, for however long, he can forget the bad situation in which he find himself in. How much work is that? Seriously.
Yeah.
How much work is it for anybody that's listening to this? How much work is it to go out of your way to help somebody else? How much work is it to go to a soup kitchen and volunteer your time, to go to an animal rescue place and just clean the cage? Does it suck? Is it cool work? No, not really. But if you've ever done it, and God knows I have, it is the most rewarding thing ever, because you're helping others. We're not meant to be selfish. We're meant to be selfless. We're supposed to care for one another. And if I can bring joy to the world by giving a few hours of my time, why wouldn't I? Like my girlfriend and I are in Alabama, super far away from our family. We asked church to just give us places where we could go just to give back. Don't even care that it's on Christmas, it's on the 24th, no problem. Tell us where they need volunteers and we'll go. I even asked the pastor, I'm like, you know what, bro? Have you ever worked in, and yes, I do say bro when I speak to pastors because that's the type of guy I am. But I've asked him, I'm like, hey, have you ever done some work with prisons? He's like, yeah, well, somewhat, but not to the extent that I want. So I'm hoping that I can start doing that in the new year, to go in prison. I have a lot of, if it wasn't for the path that I'm on right now, this is exactly where I would be. I've had some of my friends that were in there. I got a friend that died in there. So you know what? If it wasn't for my decision to take accountability for my actions, I would be there. No questions about it. The least that I could do, since I avoided it somehow, is to go in there and speak to those guys. I understand the type of guys they are. I used to be like them. I look like a guy that's been to prison. I haven't. I've been very lucky. But I'm the perfect guy to go see him, to go see those guys and just sit down. I'm not there to preach. Just let's have a conversation and maybe I can smack some sense into that head of yours.
Yep. And you know what? Sometimes it's not even about the preaching. You know what I'm saying? It's about like loving on a person, and just letting them.
No judgment.
Giving them, creating that safe space that a lot of people have never had,
No judgment.
Yeah, at all. Because which one of us are perfect? None of us are, none of us are. And we all have made mistakes. We all have been places that we don't really want other people to know about. Like, none of us are perfect at all whatsoever by any means. Some people try to, pretend like they have it together. We are all a hot mess in some way, shape, or form, Some of us just present ourselves better, but when we get to, pulling out our truth and examining our truth, that's what people can relate to. That right there is okay, so maybe, I'm not in this alone. And it just makes it makes you more relatable. And people are like, okay, I'm not alone in this. I'm not crazy for the way that I feel. Yes, this does happen to other people, or, the feelings that I have about this situation are valid,
And I'd go even further than that. For the Christians listening to this, you're not better than thou either. Stop being so judgmental. And instead of trying to make Jesus the way you want him to be, understand that God made you in his image, not the other way around. And what I mean by that is, look at who Jesus decided, who he chose as his disciples. He chose the worst people he could find. He did not choose good people. He chose bad people that needed to change, that needed to do something with their life, that needed to be better. And yet, those are the people that he chose to spread his word, to spread the gospel. So don't believe that you're better than anybody else out there.
And you know what? Something that just came ringing back into my spirit. I'm so glad that you said that, because, Lord, bring it back. number one, like when we look at the life of Jesus, right? Jesus was talked about because he would be hanging with the tax collectors, the prostitutes and stuff. But if we're already perfect, then what would we even need God for? You know, what would we even need God for? God wants somebody that is a mess that he can take and clean them up, you know, for his glory, you know?
Tim Keller, in his book on the reason for God, I'm reading it right now, and he says, I don't know where the quotes come from, I don't know if it's his or not, but he basically says that the Christian church is a hospital for sinners, not a museum of saints.
I know that's right.
That is brilliant. That
It
is
is.
oh, I read that, highlighted it, I posted it as soon as I read it too. It's just, this is amazing because church is filled with sinners.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the people, like exactly like I was saying at the beginning, people that are hurting so hard are the people that want to change, that have a choice to change.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the ways that they can change is by going to church.
Yep.
So the people that you see there, next time you see a Christian and you're like, well, that guy is not that good of a person, I know better people that are not religious. Sure. Do you need to be religious to be a good person? No, you don't. But one thing I can guarantee you is that you will find sinners upon sinners upon sinners in church. So no matter if you're a Christian or no matter if you're looking from the outside, don't judge people are trying to better themselves and compare them to others that already bettered themselves. Don't, you know what? Throw a stone. You can throw that stone if you are indeed better than those people. And guess what? As you said, we're all sinners, and I can guarantee you have skeleton hiding in your closet. You might not want to share it, but I can tell you that you ain't perfect either. So let's embrace it. Let's embrace people's flaws. Let's embrace being able to help them. Let's embrace just being good to other people. And especially, the pastor at church was saying that this month is the hardest month of the year. And it never occurred to me. And it's because people tend to compare themselves to Hallmark movies. Because now, and you know this as a woman, like they start popping up everywhere. Hallmark movie, you just turn on the TV, it's everywhere. People are showing their perfect stories everywhere. And he was explaining how we tend to compare ourselves to them. And they're not real. Those things are not real. Humans are not like that. Relationships are not like that. Relationships are hard, they're broken, and there's we do a lot of dumb things because we're pretty stupid. And I never realized that because I don't compare myself to Hallmark movies. I don't compare myself to the Instagram people that show only the highlights of their lives. I know they're full of crap.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that I don't do it, that others don't. So going out of your way to just be extra nice, just extra kind, help one person, maybe you'll make his month, you'll make her month. Just give back, do something. It's the time of the year to do it. It's honestly the time. We're in December, or starting tomorrow, we're in December. Be better. Give. Be kind. Love one another. Love somebody you don't even know.
It's free. It is free. And you know what? When you were just speaking about like people that live their lives a certain type of way for social media and stuff, when I look at people like that, I feel bad for people like that because like you can see the hurt all over some people, like you can see beyond the mask, and it's just sad. It's really, really sad. Number one, like that people are wrapped up into this image or how other people view them, or like I've never been a person to really ever care about what people think. I've never gotten wrapped up into that because number one, like life has done enough to me. I've already been through enough to be worried about what anybody thinks. Like I've never been interested in that. But some people, live a life like that, when really all that matters is what God thinks of us and the perception that God has of us. Because like even since I've been walking with Christ, God has like validated me in so many ways. Like, you know, he makes us feel good about who we are. He's created us, flaws and all. And he's like, I don't care about, be you. You know, I've created you to be you. You know, even though you're walking with me, you don't have to put on this front, or you don't have to, you can still be who you are, be who I created you to be. You know, you don't have to, because one of the main things, one of the reasons why like I didn't want to go to church, because the church that I grew up in, like we were taught you couldn't wear pants to church, you couldn't wear this to church, you couldn't wear that to church. And I'm like, if I gotta go dressed up in my Sunday's best every time I go, I don't want to go. I
Have you
don't
ever
want to
seen
go.
what Christ wore?
I know, right?
He wasn't in a suit. I can tell you that much.
I know that's
And I
right.
guarantee you, it does not matter to him.
Yeah. And God
Guarantee
freed
you
me
that.
from that. Yeah, he freed me from, you know, worried about what the outer appearance looks like. God is he examines our heart. You know, that's the number one thing. That's one thing. We could be living right in all other ways, but if our heart is not correct, then you know, that'll keep us out of heaven, like you mentioned a little while ago.
Life is not that complicated.
Yeah.
Life is so simple when you think about it. When you remove all the nonsense, life is not complicated at all.
It's
Just be a
not.
no.
And you know what?
No
I've been
very
digging back in I've been digging back into Genesis, right? I've been cycling through the Bible, and I just started reading the King James version. And so I've been going back through reading through Genesis, and just looking at God's precepts, right? And he literally created us just to be, just to rule over the animals in the land, and just to be and exist and let him do the hard stuff, you know? Like working.
the hardest thing, often the hardest thing to do is to do nothing.
Yes. We could be some busybodies sometimes.
But it's interesting when you, I'm a big fan of philosophy, but when you consider it,
Yeah.
doing nothing is the hardest thing to do. It makes no sense because it
Yeah.
should be the easiest thing to do. To just do nothing, it requires nothing. Very
Yeah.
interesting.
Especially when we've been through our trials and tribulations, you know, like fighting to survive and just make it through. You know, we've oftentimes, like before we have found God, we've gotten used to being in survival mode, you know. So a lot of us are always like, I should be doing something. I got to be doing something, you know, because we're used to the what's the word I'm looking for?
The grind.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So let me ask you this. So what would you say, like comparing the life that you lived prior to Christ and now that you're walking with God, what would you say is the biggest lesson that you've learned thus far?
You know, this is gonna be an interesting answer because I've been walking with him for so long just without knowing. I just did not know who was talking to me. When I got baptized in June, it was not because I was giving myself to Christ on that day. I was making a public statement. I had been speaking to him for a long time. I've been praying, I've been speaking to God for a long time, like at least 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
So the only thing that the last year has really allowed me to do is to dig deep in the Bible, surround myself with people that are Christian, surround myself by believers, because where I'm from, they separated the church from the state a long time ago, and religion's not very well seen in Canada. It's not like in the US where you go down south and in a lot of places like mid-country and down south that religion is very heavy, like it's everywhere. And in Canada it's not like that at all. So I've never had the opportunity to just be around other Christians, just feed off their energy, just be part of a group of people that I can sit down and speak about this, ask questions, see what makes sense, what doesn't. So it has really deepened my self-understanding and the understanding of the role I'm supposed to play. but the relationship that I've had, I don't have a stronger relationship with Jesus Christ because I got baptized. I really just got baptized to say, I the story is that I was in church on a Sunday, and the pastor started talking about how believing is not enough. If you're a Christian, you're supposed to talk about it. You don't have to be preachy and be in everybody's face like a Jehovah Witness here, but if you feel the need or the urge to talk to someone about it, you're supposed to be doing it. And as somebody that creates a lot of content that has a good following, I never approached the subject because I don't want to say that I was ashamed, but I was ashamed. So on that Sunday, there were probably 2,000 people in that church, but I guarantee he was talking to me. And then he starts saying how you need to speak about it. You don't have to, you don't have the right to be ashamed of this. There's nothing to be ashamed of. And then a couple sentences later, he's saying how they're gonna have for anybody that wants to be baptized, they have a ceremony that was taking place like 2 weeks from then, and that was the weekend before we left Colorado. So I'm like, well, there you go. That's this is what I'm gonna do. So, and me getting baptized just was a public statement to say I have given my life to Christ. Not for me, because I've understood that before that, but I just made it. It was like a turning point. I wanted a symbol of something that happened to say, okay, I accept you.
Yeah.
I will do better.
Yeah. An
From
outward
now on.
expression.
And I wear a suit for 12 years, so I couldn't have tattoos on my hands.
Really?
Like and I have full sleeves. Like I have almost a full top. Like I don't have a lot of skin left on the top of my body. My legs are just started, but I could never do that. And I always refused to do it because I've always wanted to be able to hide my tattoos so that I can just shelter from it, right? But then just after I got baptized, I'm like, I need to get it done on a place that I can't hide.
I know that's right.
Because I have to look at it. I look at it every day. It's been 6 months now. I don't see any of my tattoos because only in pictures. When I get a picture with someone, I'm like, oh man, I have a lot of tattoos. But I got it done right on the hand to make sure that I never forget that I swore that I would talk about him. I swore that I would never be ashamed of it. I swore that I would help others be better. And that was a statement I made to myself and to God that day. That's what it meant.
I know that's right. I love that. I really love that. And you know what? Excuse me. I wouldn't necessarily say I was ever shy to speak about God because I just always have. I didn't realize how close I was to God prior to becoming close, like intentionally with God. Like he's always been a part of my life. I mean, I've always been, a believer of Christ. But now, like, it's completely different. All throughout my day, I'm like, God, what do you think I should do about this? What should I, what do you think about this? What should I wear today? Where should I go after I leave here? Like, and it's amazing. It's amazing. Because like we talk to him, but I don't think people realize like he talks back. He talks back and he has quite a sense of humor. Like some days he'll say something so funny and I'm just laughing out in the middle and people are like, what are you laughing at?
Amen. That is so true. You're 100% right. And he's always been there. That's why I'm saying that over the years, I realized who it was.
Yeah.
But I called it my instinct my whole life because I did not know what else it was.
Yeah.
Because that's what people made me believe that it was.
Or some people will say your intuition,
Oh, instinct, intuition, same. It's the same. The meaning is the exact same.
Yeah.
But that's always what I thought it was, and yet I couldn't have been more wrong.
Yeah. And it's so amazing because God has revealed that to me too, like just moments and times in my life where he has spoken to me. And at the time, like you said, I didn't realize that it was him speaking, but that makes God that much more amazing. It breaks those stigmas of, God is he doesn't deal with the sinners. You have to be like this, for him to present himself, when it's like, you've been talking to me this whole time, and while I was in my mess, while I was in my crap, and you were right there with me, talking to me, pushing me out of hurt, harm, and danger, like hurt, harm, and danger's way. Like, I don't know how many times God has spared my life. And just looking back, like, I could have overdosed and died. I don't know how many times. Every single day that I used.
It is, when you have the humbleness to step back and look at it for what it is.
Yeah.
Life takes a very different meaning.
It does.
A more beautiful meaning too. Life's a lot simpler. Like, so much simpler. That's another thing that is so freeing about it. Give yourself to accept that you don't have a lot of control, accept that your sins have been paid for, that you just need to be better.
Yeah.
Man, life becomes a lot simpler.
And you know what? You know how much, like, it does not take, I'm not going to say it does not take a lot of work to have a relationship with God, because the deeper that you go and the more that you grow, like, there has been some times God has asked me to do some stuff, and I'm like, God, that does not make sense, or this is going to be a really hard step to take, but he doesn't, like, all you have to do is have a willing heart, and you have to humble yourself, and you have to be forgiving. And it's just really just different ways to soften your heart and be more like him, and to be more clear and clean, like to walk upright, which is what we should do anyways.
It's right there.
Yeah.
It's literally right there.
Yeah.
All the answers are there. All the questions are there.
Yeah. It really is. And you know what? He gives us, oh my goodness, it's like, the more that you realize how God really has us covered, because he's given us the Bible, which is a roadmap on how to walk this thing out called life, and he guides us even if we get off, path. Because another thing that people don't talk about too is, like, in this walk, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to backslide. You're going to make mistakes. You might relapse. You might do this and you might do that. But the way that God is don't stay in that sunken place. Get up and get right back in, like you never left. It's grace and it's mercy. And there's God's love, but he covers us on all sides. He gives us the Bible, which is the roadmap on how to live this daily life out. Plus, he's here 24/7, and speaking to us, giving us direction, correcting us when we're wrong, like, and blessing us, like, all those are blessings within themselves, but, blessing us,
Amen.
That's a win-win. I tell God all the time, like, God, you so dope.
Yep. I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. Definitely agree.
Yeah. So you want to tell everybody about your I know you said you have a podcast and whatever else you may have going on?
Yeah, I do have a lot going on. I'm writing my second book, which can't wait to get it out. I create a lot of content around men's right. I do talk about faith quite a bit, and so if you're looking, if you want to know more, you can find me. You can go to nicolagan.com. All my socials are there. All the appearances that I do on podcasts, and God knows I do a lot of them recently, but you can find everything. But I'm at Real Nico Lagan on every single platform. Like, I think I post on 7 or 8 different platforms every day, so I'm out there, and I welcome conversations. I engage, unlike other people, I actually engage with the people that engage with my content. So if you want to insult me, you want to be nice, you want to have a conversation, whatever, all good with me. I accept them all. I accept it all. But piece of warning though, as I said, I'm not your typical Christian. If you come to my stuff and start talking smack, I will troll you. I'm telling you. You will. You think you don't like me now? Play that game with me, see how much you hate me afterwards. Just saying there's consequences to those actions. I'm just saying. And I'll do it with a smile.
I know, that's right. I love that.
Yep. I'll enjoy it too. It'll be very fun.
That's right. But I'm gonna hit on one more thing. like a lot of people think that when we start walking with Christ, like that you become some chump. You know what I'm saying? When
Nope.
it's the complete opposite. Like God gives you this boldness, you know. And look at Jesus, like he was flipping over tables and stuff, you know. Me personally, like God has shown me, like you need to establish these boundaries. Like it's okay to be nice to people, but you must have boundaries. You know, you don't have to be a yes man, a yes woman. Sometimes God will tell me, say no, you know, say no, you know, to establish those boundaries and work things out within myself. But you know, people think that when you start this walk with Christ that you just are supposed to become this welcome mat, and it just does not work like that. You know, I'm the same age. I just follow Christ now, you know.
Yep. It's funny because I was just talking about that on one of the videos I posted, and there's a difference between self-defense and vengeance. There's a difference between protecting yourself and committing and going after somebody after the fact.
Yeah.
Turning the other cheek means that vengeance is not acceptable. That doesn't mean that you're not supposed to protect your loved ones. There's a very, very big difference between being vengeful and not being a doormat. Jesus never asked Christians to be doormats. Never. They asked them to be kind and compassionate.
That's some good stuff. That's some good stuff.
Well, there's a book you can read that all that stuff comes from. I'm just putting it out there. I'm just putting it out there. The most printed book ever.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. You can find it everywhere.
Yeah.
Anywhere. No excuses. It's everywhere.
That's right.
Full of good stuff.
I know that's right. And if somebody need one, I'll send them one, you know?
Love it.
So, do you have a expected date for your book to roll out, or are you still just working on it?
I wanted it to be done by the end of the year, but I'm putting a program together to help content creators go through what I've been through. So I'm really putting a lot of time into that. It's the calling right now. I'm being told to put the book on hold. So it's not going to be long. I already have probably 30,000 words already written for the book. And instead of making it a 300-page history book as I thought it would be, I was told to turn it into a blueprint of probably 100-page less. Like it's going to be something like 7 chapters. It's not going to be long, but it's going to be the 5 virtues of a good man, why it matters, and what happens after you finish the book. But it's going to be a working book. So I just need to sit down. But I'm self-published, right? I have my own publishing company. My first book was on me. So
that's amazing.
It makes things a lot easier, because I don't have to wait on other people, and I have graphic designer on staff, so it's the conversations between him and I. And I already know a great narrator, and I already know a great editor. So
that's amazing. You all said.
I think so. I like to believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. So if people want to work with you outside of this, how do they reach you?
plproduction.co.
Okay.
That's the website. It shows you all the services I offer, because we do as little as you need or as big as you need. Like I coach people on how to get better in front of the camera. I coach people on how to integrate AI in their content creation workflow, because not everybody can afford to have a big team, right? And AI is not going to create the content for you, but it's going to help you. It can definitely help you create better content. Like I treat my AI programs like somebody of the team. Like I say please and thank you to my AI all the time. So it's yeah, I just help people that want to have. I love to work with people that want to work, that want to change the world, that want to help others just be better. Because in my opinion, you change the world one person at a time.
Absolutely.
So this is what I do, and if that's interesting to you. But again, you can find me on social media. As much as I don't talk about a lot of those services on my platform, because that's not the reason I do it, but you can approach me there and we'll talk.
Okay. I appreciate this.
I appreciate the invitation. I appreciate the opportunity.
This was good. I got my spirit fed today.
Now I need my stomach to be fed.
I No, that's right.
That's what
That's
the
right.
chicken's done. I can smell it. I can smell it. I'm hungry.
Well, you're welcome back anytime. Anytime you want to come back, you are more than welcome.
I will definitely talk again.
I appreciate
I'm
that.
always open. I love recording those things, so I'm always open.
Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us here on Let the Healing Begin podcast. Couple ways to support. You can head over to www.greatergrowthllc.com, purchase a t-shirt or a sweatshirt, support us there. You can also head over to Amazon and purchase a copy of Back in My Day by Asia Wilson. Or you can also check out our link tree and check out some of the services that we offer. We're offering life skills and mentoring. And then also head over to Facebook, Instagram, things like that. Like and follow us and subscribe. Thank you so much. And until next time.